Hi, guys. Welcome back to another episode of The Shift with Gina. Happy to be back. I feel like I haven't been here in a little while. I think it's only been a week, but it's just been a busy week. So I'm glad to finally be back to chat with you guys about a fun topic today. We're going to talk about something fun. Wait till we get into it. I'm 6 months pregnant now, and I feel fat. You know, ladies, when you get to that point in your pregnancy where you're like, oh, my belly has arrived and you're feeling it. I just got over the threshold where I had to start sleeping on my side. I'm a back sleeper. I hate sleeping on my side. Never liked sleeping on my side, but I had to make the switch. And the last 2 nights have not been fun. Just going back and forth, trying to find the right position. I don't know how you guys sleep on your side. For those of you who are just normal people, not pregnant, you willingly choose to sleep on your side. Like, are you guys okay? Why? My husband sleeps on his side. I don't understand. He's always been a side sleeper. I am a back sleeper because I'm normal, and that's the most comfortable way to sleep. I will never let anybody tell me otherwise. But other than that, pregnancy's going fine. It's just, I know the last month is going to be that stretch of time when you're like, I'm ready for it to be over. But we're excited nonetheless. So before we get into the topic today, I want to remind you that this episode is brought to you by Charlize Skincare. I'm actually very excited about this product. I've been using Charlize moisturizer. This is the Revitalizing Daily Moisturizer. I have about 3 of these in my cabinet that I stock up on. This is the only face moisturizer that I use that's not beef tallow. I'm very careful about what I put on my skin. I hardly wear much makeup. I don't really use much skincare, but when I first was sent a Charlize product about 1.5 years ago, I tested it for a little while. I ended up really liking it and buying the whole line. My mom uses it too. I get compliments on my skin a lot. I think it's not genetic. I used to have bad skin. I think it's just about what you put into your body, your lifestyle, and also what you put onto your skin. So I'm a really big fan of her moisturizer particularly. She also has a product that has an SPF 25. It's a tinted moisturizer. I love that one too. And then she's got some good serums and toners here. And if you use my code GINA, Gina, you get 20% off, ladies. So give it a shot. She's got a lot of really good products. She cares a lot about what ingredients she puts in there, and nothing is in plastic. So none of those endocrine disrupting plastics with your products. It's all in Italian glass, which is really nice. So it looks nice, it feels nice on your skin, and it makes your skin look really good. So click the link in the description to try out some products. Guys, Valentine's Day is coming up, so get your ladies some really nice skincare. Look at that glass. I love that sound. It's such nice packaging too. And the founder is just obviously shares our values, and it's just really nice to find some skincare and beauty products that are aligned with us too. So link in the description, use the code GINA for 20% off, and you guys are going to love the products. Okay. Today's topic is about celebrities and influencers who have a big impact on our day-to-day life, especially on the younger generation. And how I think the right sometimes forgets this, and they don't quite grasp how much influence these people have on the younger generation. I want to talk today in particular about the likes of Sofia Richie, Ballerina Farm, Nara Smith. I don't know if not many of you may have heard of Nara Smith because she's younger. She's really popular amongst Gen Z. These are women with millions and millions of fans and followers who are wildly popular, and of most of their fans are young women. And I want to talk about how these women are actually changing the narrative about what makes life fabulous for women in today's age. Okay, so all of these women that I'm mentioning today, they're all about marriage and motherhood. 2 of these girls, Ballerina Farm and Nara, are all about homemaking and making healthy, delicious food for your family. And this is a stark difference from what we've seen from most celebrities and influencers, right? And so we're going to talk today about how much of an impact this has on young women. And I'm going to tell you about how the right just does not understand how to replicate this on the conservative side, and how that's actually been quite detrimental to us. So we know that celebrities and influencers have always had a big impact on the masses. That's just how it is. Movie stars, whoever, famous people have always had a big impact on the masses. And whether or not you like that, that's the case. It's true. There was something that came out lately that said Taylor Swift could sway like a large part of the votes, a large percentage of the votes in this year's election. And yeah, I believe that. You know, she has a lot of influence, and you can moan and complain and whine about that all you want. But the fact of the matter is, people are influenced by other people with large platforms. That's just how it's always been. And this is not new, but in recent years, celebrities and influencers are incredibly liberal and leftist, which is why this is disturbing to us on the right, because we see that a lot of the younger generation is being heavily influenced with these degenerate ideas. So it's not happening because the celebrities are liberal, right? What I mean is that the impact that these celebrities are having on the younger generation, they're not having this impact because they're liberal. They're liberal and leftist and feminist because the left understood that people, especially women, are heavily influenced by others with a large platform, whether it's a celebrity or influencer, movie star. So the left did something very smart. They intentionally infiltrated Hollywood, the world of tech, and thus social media in order to turn the younger generation into liberals. This was an intentional move on their part, and it has been very successful over the last few decades. Okay. So if you look around, you're like, oh gosh, but Hollywood's so liberal. Yeah, that's done on purpose because the left knew that if they could turn these mainstream machines very liberal and leftist, that they would have a very big impact on the younger generation. That's exactly what's happening. And at the same time, the left took over art, especially film, knowing that art is an incredibly powerful thing that has the power to change people's hearts and minds, whether you like it or not. And when you have the power to change people's hearts and minds, you have the power to change their political leanings. And you have the power to change their desire to get married and start a family. The right does not seem to quite grasp this concept. The right instead tends to spit on the fact that people respond to influence, and they spit on the fact that the younger generation does in fact care what celebrities and influencers are doing. And I think this is to the right's detriment, largely. I think that the right has abandoned art, has abandoned culture, and it's done terrible things for us because we've now left the younger generation, a lot of young women in particular, to be influenced by these leftists like Taylor Swift. We're just not doing really anything to combat this and to put our own influencers forward to promote better values. The right also is at this point where they almost sneer at art and anything that is emotive and expressive. The right is highly obsessed with facts. Facts don't care about your feelings. That's like the mantra. That's the motto for the right, thanks to Ben Shapiro, right? Facts don't care about your feelings. Okay, that's very smart and autistic. Okay, but it's a complete misunderstanding of the human race, human psychology, and how humans function, not only within themselves, but relationally to one another. Facts don't care about your feelings. Actually, that's not okay. Feelings don't care about your facts. And I think the right has gotten to this extreme place where they think that facts and data and statistics are the only things that matter. But let me tell you a little something about somebody named Edmund Burke, who is known as the grandfather of modern conservatism. His conservative values heavily influenced our founding fathers. And there's a really good book called Edmund Burke, The First Conservative. I would highly encourage you to read that. It's an overview of his life, but more importantly, his conservative political values. Now, the grandfather of modern conservatism made a huge emphasis on the passionate, prejudiced human being and strongly believed that logic and reason do not rule us. He says this very clearly, that we should use our wisdom and our discernment over our so-called logic, and that facts and data mean something. It's not like facts and data and statistics don't mean anything, but they are never more meaningful than someone's innate God-given ability to discern right from wrong and wrong from right. So, for example, you see a lot of people on the left try to use science to justify surrogacy, to justify abortion. And yet, when a normal moral person looks at the photo of a baby being sold to a couple of gay dudes or even a heterosexual couple who was conceived via surrogacy, you have a visceral reaction to it. Why? Because you have a God-given ability to identify that there is something very wrong with that. You can give me all the science that you want, the facts and data, statistics, whatever, even though most of the science is not on your side to support that. You can give me all of the data that you want. It doesn't matter. I have a God-given ability to know that that is wrong. It is immoral. Edmund Burke says that these passions and these prejudices that we naturally have are more powerful and more important than humans' propensity for logic and reason. Doesn't mean we should throw logic and reason out the window. But it's so ironic to me that the beginning of the conservative movement, conservative political movement as we know it today, was led by men who understood that our passion and our hearts and our wisdom are more important than logic and reason. And yet we've ended up on the other end where all of these nerdy conservative guys are like, facts don't care about your feelings and you shouldn't care how you feel at all. It's not about your heart. It's about the facts and the logic and the data. Okay, that's a long way away from where conservative politics started. So Edmund Burke was ahead of his time, and he even talked about how expertise was overrated. He talked about how experts were overrated, very ahead of his time. And he said that humans respond strongly to storytelling, and that we want to feel moved and we want to feel passionate about something in order to fight for it until the day that we die. You see the huge difference that we see here between early conservatives and today's modern conservatives. It's almost the complete opposite. Conservatives today are so obsessed with intellect, and I'm going to tie this all together to talk about celebrities and influencers soon, but conservatives are so obsessed with intellect and being right versus being wrong and having knowledge and facts and data and statistics. And then if you look at the Orthodox faith, I love Orthodoxy. One of the things I love so much about the Orthodox, phronema is the Greek word meaning, it's loosely translated to mindset, spirit, or purpose. And the phronema only means something when it's put into action. So the Orthodox phronema, what I love so much about it is that patristic theology and ecclesiology and history, that all matters. Of course it does. It's a huge part of our faith and our tradition. But really the most important thing to consider when you are converting to Orthodoxy or whether you're walking on the path of Orthodoxy is how we humble ourselves before Christ our God, how we transform our everyday patterns and our habits to glorify Him, and how we find healing and repentance and surrender. It's partly, but it's not really all about how we understand the theological concepts and apostolic tradition. Those are, of course, important, and they're the strong foundation of our holy tradition. But the first thing that we're told to do if we want to convert to Orthodoxy is to attend services, go to liturgy, go to Vespers, and experience Christ's presence. At the beginning of every liturgy, the priest will say, "Blessed is the kingdom of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit," because we are entering God's kingdom. That is what we believe. We are experiencing heaven during divine liturgy. And so when you want to convert to Orthodoxy, we're told to attend these services, to participate, to feel God's presence. We are told to pray. We are told to humble ourselves through prayer and repentance. And we're told to attend these services even if we don't intellectually understand what is being said or what rituals are being done, because especially a lot of times, I go to an Antiochian Orthodox church, so the service is in English, but a lot of these Orthodox services, they're not even in English. So if you're new, you can't intellectually understand what's happening. But it's not about being intellectual and knowing the facts and the data and the history of the church. Sure, learn that. But the first step to Orthodoxy is not that. It's not the intellect. It's the beginning of this beginning of our spiritual journey is through prayer and our spiritual experience of God. It's in our hearts. It's our passion to repent and to surrender to Christ. And I find that to be related a lot to what Edmund Burke says about relying so much on intellect is a failure for humans. We should not rely totally on logic and reason. And I think the modern right has completely lost these ideas. The modern right hates anything that is artful and beautiful and influential. Like I said earlier, it's almost like the right sneers at art and culture today. It's like they spit on it. They're like, oh, that's so stupid, films. Oh, that's so dumb. Why are you guys watching films? They've rallied behind the phrase, facts don't care about your feelings, which at the end of the day, that phrase turns people away, whether or not they can articulate it to themselves. I want to show you a tweet from somebody who talked about conservatives' complete lack of understanding of culture and art. This is from Amy the Artist. She's a fellow Orthodox sister. And I like a lot of what she says about how the right just doesn't understand art. So in this tweet, she says, the right loses to the left culturally because they are anti-feelings. And making art, music, and movies requires emotive expression that stirs feeling in other people. You can't be anti-feelings, which is anti-human because to be human is to feel, and win popular culture. Conservatives lose their mind about feelings, but feelings are informative and they're not always frivolous. If you don't feel and intuit, then what makes you any different than a floating head or a robot? Context, people, context. I'm not talking about Tolkien here. I'm commenting on today's major conservative influencers. They have plenty of money and support, yet every time they make something, it's completely gimmicky and obvious. Oh my gosh, that last line. I'm not going to name names or name titles of some conservative, quote, works of art, but the stuff that comes out of the right in terms of like movies and stuff, it is so, just like Amy says, is very gimmicky and obvious and so on the nose. They just don't get it. And it's not enjoyable to watch. They just have a really hard time understanding art. And I think that's largely because they have made facts don't care about your feelings their motto. It's a weird flex, bro. Okay, you brag about the fact that you have no compassion. You brag about the fact that you have no feelings and that you don't think that people should ever have feelings. That is such a weird flex. I don't know why conservatives like to deny people's God-given intuition. It's just such an odd hill to die on. And it's sad because the right has such an opportunity right now to capitalize on better films and better art, because I think the left is starting to lose their grip because they're starting to get preachy and lectury, which I'm going to explain more later. But the right has such a unique opportunity here and they're just like throwing it away. And it's kind of sad to see. And this is how we end up with conservatives not understanding culture at all and letting culture completely slip out of our hands and end up in the hands of deranged leftists. This is how we let culture be overrun by liberal figures who are very successful at influencing young people's thoughts and values. So, enter Sofia Richie, a Hollywood socialite who's the daughter of iconic singer Lionel Richie. She was previously known for dating the likes of Justin Bieber and Scott Disick. She used to hang around the Kardashians, used to dress like them. But for a little while there, she kind of disappeared from the spotlight and nobody really knew where she was. Nobody knew what she was doing. And then suddenly she reappeared in spring-ish of 2023, made a brand new TikTok, started a brand new Instagram, and started doing all of these get ready with me morning videos. And she was preparing for her wedding to Elliot Grange, a music executive whose family has connections with Lionel Richie. Because I think his whole family's in the music business. So she came out of nowhere and she suddenly developed a massive following, like huge. I think she's got, I don't know how many on TikTok, but millions and millions. So on Instagram alone, let's see how many. She's got 11 million followers on Instagram alone. On TikTok, I think it's more than that. And when she came back to the spotlight, she had a totally new look. So let's take a look at her Instagram. We can kind of peruse through and just grab a few, like this sort of old money look. It's called the old money look. Okay. So she's completely covered up here. If you look at these outfits, like they are very modest. This is unlike really anything that we're seeing in Hollywood today. Like, look at this. She's 25 years old and she looks timeless and elegant. Elegant is like the word for it. She's, fully dressed. I guess she's showing a little bit of skin there in the midriff, but barely. She looks stunning. She looks so beautiful. And none of this is over sexualized. It's just a completely different look than what we've seen in the past. Look at this. I love this top. Just for those of you who are just listening to the audio, she's wearing this really cute, like sleeveless sweater top. It's green with this white detail in the middle, high-waisted, wide-leg jeans, just so classy, so chic, timeless and elegant, way beyond her age. Like, this is the kind of look that you would want your daughter to wear. Beautiful, modest. This is her whole page now. Okay? So, this is what Sofia Richie came back as, and this is basically on the eve of her wedding. So she got married, and her wedding was dubbed the wedding of the century. It was an extravagant affair, I think in France. Pretty sure it's France. And it cost millions and millions of dollars, and it was very indicative of old money. Obviously, Sofia comes from money. Her husband definitely comes from money. They're both families in the music industry. And then if you look at the photos of her wedding, for example, her dress, look at this dress. It's very modest. It's beautiful. She and her husband, and look, if you look at it, it looks very elegant, right? Not at all. Even like the bridesmaids' dresses are very muted, not very loud. They look very regal, right? Let's look at another one here. It's just, I love all of her dresses. Look at this one. This was one of the, I think she had 3 dresses from her wedding day. This one is beautiful. I love it. Mock neck, long sleeve, cinched in the waist, beautiful beading. It's just stunning. And look at these photos. And she's fully covered, totally modest. And she came back with roaring popularity, right? The images are timeless, classic, and they're very different from many celebrity weddings you've seen today. And in interviews, Sofia talked about how she wanted to have a classic traditional look with everything from makeup to decor to the bridesmaids' dresses to her gowns. She wanted everything to be classic, traditional. She instantly became the next it girl. Women are now obsessed with her. They call her the new old money look, the rich wife era, and 99.9% of what she wears is very modest. She's covered up, which is totally different from every celebrity her age, totally different from the celebrities like the Kardashians that she used to hang out with. She's not flaunting her body. She's not doing these overly sexual poses. She's just very stunning and beautiful. And now she just announced that she's pregnant, just got married less than a year ago. Bam, she is with child. She is 6 months pregnant, just announced about a week ago. And there she is. She said, I've learned more in the past 6 months than I have in my entire life. And she talked to Vogue about how excited she is to be a mother for the first time. 25 years old, pregnant, and married. This is rare, and dressing modestly. Okay, so she's in some of these pregnancy photos, she's showing a little bit more skin because, that's what a lot of women do in pregnancy photos. But 99% of the time, dressing very modestly, married, pregnant by 25. This is like unheard of in Hollywood. Okay, so she's making waves and she is developing this huge fan base. Beautiful, captivating. She's making marriage and pregnancy look fabulous again. And she's not doing it by standing up on her soapbox and demanding that women throw away their slutty clothes and stop dating around and get married and get pregnant. She's not demanding women do anything. She's not preaching or lecturing anything. She's just living her life fabulously, and women are obsessed and they cannot look away. This is the heart of why we're seeing people like Sofia, Ballerina Farm, and Nara Smith gain so much popularity. So let's take a look quickly at Ballerina Farm. I talked about her a few episodes ago. She went viral because after her 8th baby's birth, 12 days postpartum, she went and did some big beauty pageant. Even before, right? So aside from the couple of times that she's been in controversies online, she is massively popular. 9 million followers. Her reels get millions and millions of views, which is like, she gets very high engagement on her content. She's always doing videos of cooking with her kids, milking the cows, homemaking. She makes everything from homemade mozzarella cheese to sourdough to lasagna to pies. I mean, look at all this. I think she's making buttermilk pie. Yep. Fresh buttermilk pie with buttermilk crust. This is what her whole page is about. She's become probably one of the most popular people online right now. Very successful as a social media content creator. She's always with her kids. She's always natural, makeupless, cooking, homesteading, homemaking. This is her thing. And millions of people love her. Here she is again. She said in this post, this for her 12-year anniversary, she made chicken parmesan, which is her husband's favorite dish. So she made it all from scratch. Homemade pasta, homemade everything, cheese. Yep. She's making homemade mozzarella here. I love homemade mozzarella. It's so good. It's just, it's not hard. It just takes work. And so she's doing all this for her family. This is what she does. It took like 6 or 7 hours. Ballerina Farm, similar to Sofia Richie, she has made waves online, and she is ushering in this new era of like motherhood and marriage is great. Make motherhood great again. Like that's what Ballerina Farm is doing, right? And so she's also part of this, like people throw her into the sort of like trad aesthetic that is becoming so popular online. But Ballerina Farm has never once ever used the term trad to describe herself ever. Because just like Sofia Richie, she doesn't get on her soapbox and lecture women about being married mothers who cook for their kids. Like she just doesn't do that. She's a mother of 8. She's become the beacon of motherhood and homemaking online. And she's never once stood up on her soapbox and told other women that they should be wives and mothers. Okay, so now let's look at Nara Smith. She is a very, very popular influencer on TikTok. She's married to a Mormon model named Lucky Blue Smith, I think his name is. I don't know. Blue Lucky, something. She's 21 years old. She has 2 toddlers and she's pregnant with her 3rd. She and her husband are like super, super in love. They are so cute together. I don't know how anybody could not like them. She likes to post about cooking for her husband. She likes to post about date nights with her husband. She always posts about what kind of homemade food she's making for her toddlers. And she does it while looking like a model herself. She wears these fabulous clothes and she looks so beautiful in everything that she does. So for example, here's a video, 7 million views, what my toddlers eat in a day. She made some focaccia. She's making some oats here. Oh, she's making granola, homemade granola for the kids. She's always doing something homemade. And this is a 21-year-old girl who is married with 2, soon to be 3 kids. And she is making young marriage and young motherhood look fabulous. Like she's beautiful. She's model material. So here, like 3 million views. She's showing a video of herself eating like some wrap that she made. Everything is made from scratch. So this is another girl who is like becoming a beacon of motherhood and marriage online for Gen Z. She's 21 years old. Okay, I'm going to make a bold statement right now. It's going to upset some people, but I think I might be right. These influencers are doing more to instill values like marriage and motherhood into young women than anyone on the right is. These women, Sofia Richie, Ballerina Farm, Nara Smith, they are more likely to increase our marriage rate and our birth rate than conservatives are. And one of the reasons is that because they are not constantly standing up on their soapbox and lecturing people about how great marriage is, how wonderful pregnancy and motherhood are. They're not constantly talking about how important it is that you must cook for your husband and your kids and you must look pretty for your husband so he doesn't cheat on you. They're not telling anyone to do anything. These women have never once told other women how to live their life. They just live their own life fabulously and beautifully, and they just influence in that way. And this is what inspires other women to do the same. Sure, Sofia Richie, I would guess, is probably still lib. I think if Sofia were to be asked about her politics, she would probably support abortion and gay marriage. But notice she doesn't talk about politics. Since she rebranded, Sofia has never once talked about politics, at least not right now. She might in the election year. I hope not. But I think that it might be like a PR strategy, which is a very smart one. I think if Sofia Richie stays neutral in politics, she can have a lot of fans on both the right and the left, because she does right now. A lot of conservative women I know love her, like young women, because she's young. She just exists fabulously right now. And that's what's most attractive to women, especially young women. She doesn't really need to stand up on her soapbox and preach about anything. On the flip side, I think that the right has fallen too deep into the habit of constantly lecturing and preaching and condemning. All they do now is get online and talk about how women are hoes and they should stop sleeping around, they should stop dressing slutty, and they should get married and be in the kitchen. But many of the people who are spouting this message online, they're either not living that life themselves, or they're just not very likable, accessible people that young women want to emulate. I'm not saying this to bash anybody on the right. I'm just explaining the landscape of conservatives right now. I just don't think the right is very good at supporting public figures and influencers who are going to have a strong impact on the younger generation. The right forgets that young people, especially women, they don't want to be preached at all the time. They don't want to be lectured all the time. They don't want to be told that what they're doing is stupid and wrong and they're dumb and they have a high body count, so they're never going to be wanted by any man. People just don't want to be lectured and condemned all the time. And this is something that the left is even starting to lose their grip on, because for a long time, the liberal celebrities and influencers were just being fabulous and they were just smoking cigarettes and dating around and getting divorced and not getting married and partying and being fabulous. And that was the cool thing to do. It was cool because they didn't tell anybody to do it. They were just doing it. But then the left started to overplay their hand, and now they force almost all of the celebrities to lecture people about beliefs and politics. And that's why so many people are fed up with Hollywood. People just want to open up their social media or turn on their TV and be entertained and feel something memorable. They don't want to be lectured, which is why Hollywood has been hemorrhaging money, because they've turned their movies, their industry, into these political spokespeople. People don't want that. People don't want to be lectured. It doesn't matter if it's from the right or the left. And the right isn't good at this either. The right constantly lectures and whines all the time, and it's just not attractive to the younger generation. And on top of all that, they're constantly condemning and they're constantly, for lack of a better term, shaming people all the time. And it's just not attractive. So right now, both the right and the left are sort of making the same mistakes, which is why these figures like Sofia Richie and Ballerina Farm, especially, they're so attractive to people, because when has Ballerina Farm ever lectured someone about motherhood and marriage being better than the single life? Never. She just lives it. She does it really beautifully. Yeah, these people have money. Okay. That doesn't change anything. It doesn't change the fact that they're not influential. In fact, having that money is the very thing that helps them be more influential, because they have the time and the energy and the space to share their life and make it look more beautiful. And that's okay. Again, the right should stop sneering at beauty. Like, we should be encouraging more women to look at these beautiful things, even if those beautiful things are backed by some money. There's a quote from Tony Robbins that I love. I'm a Tony Robbins stan. I don't care what anyone says. I've always loved his stuff. For the last 10 years, I've liked his stuff. He says, you can't influence someone if you're constantly judging them. And it actually reminds me of something that our priest always says to our parish. He says this regularly. He says, I'm not here to judge. I'm here to help. He says that sometimes in his homilies. He says that when he's talking about confession. He says it sometimes in the beginning of confession with you. He says, I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to help. I'm here to guide you. Now, this does not mean that we are throwing objective morality and God's commandments out of the window. You can absolutely hold people to high standards and educate them on what's right and what's wrong without condemning them and judging them all the time. And I think this is a distinction that the right doesn't understand right now. We aren't really changing many people's hearts if we're constantly yelling at them. That's not how Jesus changed people's hearts when he was on earth. He told people to go and sin no more. He was very clear about that, but he wasn't constantly lecturing them and berating them. I like to think a lot about the longest recorded conversation in the Bible that Jesus had with a person, and it was with a woman. It was with the Samaritan woman, also known as Saint Fotini. And he saw her at the well, and the Samaritan woman, it was like unheard of for men like Jesus to even address or speak to in public. And he revealed himself as the Lord to her. And he essentially said to her, I know you're living in sin. I know that you've been married 5 times and you're living with you're living with a man who is not your husband. And he told her, he looked at her, he said, go and sin no more. He did not berate her. He did not lecture her. He just told her to go and sin no more. And this conversation that he had with her, I think is such an example that we can all look to. And I've come to realize this a lot lately, guys. I have gotten this wrong a lot online before. I have made the mistake of condemning and judging women and making my message more unattractive to them. I'm guilty of that. I think actually most people on the right are guilty of that. It's something that I've struggled with in the past. I've talked about in my confession before, because it's easy to sit there and judge others and feel like you are above them. And I think it's particularly easy for conservatives to struggle with this because we know we have objective morality on our side, unlike leftists. The liberals, they don't have objective morality on their side. They don't have what's good and true on their side. We do. And so sometimes I think that we take that too close to heart sometimes, and we overplay that hand, and then we fall into this bad habit of judging and condemning all the time. But I always ask this question, what are we really trying to do here, guys, on the right? Seriously, what are we really trying to do here? This is an important question. Are we really trying to change people's hearts and minds and bring more women to our side? Or do we just want to yell and scream into the abyss and make people feel bad about their choices? Because if we really want to change hearts and minds and bring more young women, more people, but we're talking about women here. If we really want to bring more women to our side, we have to admit that what we're doing on the right just isn't working. It's just not working. And again, I have been in the past part of this problem. I want to be better at it. I mentioned a couple episodes ago, one of my goals for 2024 is I want to be kinder. I want to be more compassionate. I want to be more Christ-like. And I don't want to just yell into the abyss and scream at women for having abortions in the past and being sluts. Like, you're not changing their hearts when you do that. And this is how you end up with something like this. This statistic has been shared all over Twitter lately. So if you look at this graph here, the title is Young Women Are Becoming More Liberal. Share of American men and women aged 18 to 29 who identify as liberal. Look at the yellow line. The yellow line is women. In 2015, 30% of women were liberal. You go to, let's say this looks like 2017, 38% of women are liberal. You go to 2020, almost 45% of women are liberal. Look at the steep incline here. At the same time, young men between ages 18 and 29, they seem to be turning a little bit more conservative. I mean, it's actually kind of the same, right? So in 2013, it was about 23% conservative, 23% liberal. In 2016, it was 28% liberal. 2020, it dropped down to 23% again. And now, right here, we're about 25% liberal. So why is it 25% of young men are liberal and almost 45% of young women are liberal? Now, you see this graph being shared all over the internet, and everyone has different opinions. Most people on the right, you know what they say? They say it's because women are naturally liberal, we're naturally emotional, we can't really think logically, and we fall prey to groupthink more often. If all that were the case, if women are just naturally liberal, and how was the US like completely red in the 80s? Like, we were like a totally red country. I think it was Reagan's election. It was like almost every single state was red. I do believe that women have different general personalities. Yes, we have different personality traits. We are more concerned with equality. We are more concerned with people's emotions. We connect more with other people than we do with things and objects. I believe in general personality differences, but I don't believe that women are just naturally liberal. I don't believe that at all. No. And so I see all of these tweets online from conservatives who are blaming this statistic on women. And I think that this is missing a really big piece. You can blame Blame women's personalities all you want. But like I said, it doesn't explain the fact that like our entire country used to be red. We have to admit that at least one factor of this insane spike in liberal women is that the right is repelling women. And people will, oh, you're so feminist. Have you ever noticed that feminist has just become like the same thing as racist on the left? Like the word feminist is the same to conservatives as racist is to liberals. Like they just use the term feminist now to just throw it out there. It means nothing. Oh, you're feminist. So whatever, call me feminist. But I think we have to finally admit that there's something that the right is doing. It's not the whole reason that women are turning liberal. No, but it is one factor. And what we can control, we can't control what the left does. The left is really good at appealing to women, but we can control what the right does. We can control what we do. So why aren't we even trying to appeal to women better? The right doesn't want to admit that influencers have a big impact on the younger generation. The right doesn't want to invest time and, yes, money into influencers who are attractive and likable and fabulous so they can influence young women with the right values. This would be so much more useful and productive than sitting around and constantly lecturing women and talking about politics exclusively. Like, okay, I'm going to show you this tweet from John Doyle. If you don't know, you got to know John Doyle. If you follow me, you got to know John Doyle. You know, we're always a big fan of John Doyle. He says in this tweet, white women are more likely to vote Republican than women of any other race. Instead of simply not deliberately alienating this sympathetic demographic, conservatives actually joined forces with non-whites to denigrate the two strongest symbols of white female identity this year, Taylor Swift and the Barbie movie. Non-whites will, of course, continue to block vote for Democrats. White women will continue to join them to an extent. Women don't really care about issues so much as they do vibes, feelings, like dressing up to go see a movie or a concert. Doesn't mean that you'd ever get them all on your side by being pro-Swift and Barbie, but certainly spending days or weeks on end bitching about these things is directionally incorrect. You give them the ick. You are lame. John gets it. He gets it. Look, women are wired differently. You can bitch and moan and complain about that all you want. Women are wired differently. We respond to influence differently than men do. We don't respond to facts don't care about your feelings. We don't respond to that the same way that men do. I don't even think that a lot of men do, to be honest, because like, you know, we were talking about Edmund Burke earlier. Men and women, humans are passionate beings who respond to storytelling and our hearts being moved. But still, women are just generally different than men are. And like I said, you can complain about that all you want. You can berate us. You can make fun of us. You can call us the inferior race all you want. But again, what are we really trying to do here? Do you want more women to come to our side? Because you should. I want to see actual productive changes. I don't want to just yell into the abyss. I want to see more changes. I want to see more women be conservative, become Christian, get married, have children. For number one, the future of our country, and number two, for their own souls and salvation. Why wouldn't you want that? So again, what are we really trying to do here? Don't you want more women to come to our side? Because if you do, why don't we expand what we're doing and try to appeal more to women? That's why the left has been so successful. They appeal very successfully to women. And the right sneers at it like, oh, those dumb women. Call us dumb all you want. It's going to result in the same thing. More and more women turning liberal. I don't know why anybody wants that. I don't know why anyone would want more women to support abortion, delay getting married, and generally be unhappy and fat and feminist. I don't know why anyone would want that. Now, this doesn't mean that we get rid of objective truth and reality. We have the winning cards, you guys. We're on the right. We have the winning cards. Truth is on our side. All we have to do is make the truth a little bit more digestible to women and stop constantly making women feel like they're huge failures and they're bigger failures than men. Why? Because a small percentage of them do OnlyFans. Like, yeah, that's degenerate, but it's just as degenerate for men to buy the memberships. Like, one of the main reasons why OnlyFans is so popular and booming right now is because there's a demand for it, because there are many male consumers who are paying $5 a month to look at booty pictures and look at someone's butthole. It's just as much of a sexual sin for men to be consuming this content as it is for women to be posting naked pictures of themselves. So again, what are we really trying to do here? I think this is a really important question. And again, this is not bashing anybody on the right. I think we need to take an honest look at the landscape and really see that whatever we are doing is not working. And I think that we can learn a thing or two from Sofia Richie, Ballerina Farm, and Nara Smith. None of these women are political. Okay. I'm sure that Ballerina Farm and her husband, they're Mormon, wish they weren't, but whatever. They're Mormon. They're probably conservative politically, but they don't even talk about politics. They don't have to. I think that these women are doing more for marriage and motherhood than right-wingers are today. And I think that there are plenty of women who are conservative influencers who can be just as fabulous and likable as Sofia Richie if the right starts to support them and financially back them. Yes, financially back them. Just like the right financially backs conservative political podcasters. I don't know why we're so afraid to talk about this. Like, why aren't we picking beautiful conservative influencers who are young to give them a bigger platform? We invest in a lot of podcasters. Like you see these media companies like, Daily Wire, they put a lot of financial backing into their podcast hosts, as they should. So I don't understand why the right is not trying to redirect some of that money to financially back young, beautiful conservative influencers who are going to have a massive impact on young women. These girls who are likable. Maybe they're married and they're just having kids, or they're just beautiful and they dress modestly. Like, why aren't we trying to support these women and put them in front of more young women? I think it's much better to use our time and our energy and our resources to do that, so that we can finally influence more young women to adopt our values. Because these young women respond to influence. They don't respond so much to lectures. Again, this is not saying that you have to get rid of the truth and the data and the facts. No, we can always talk about that. But I think that we have to lead a little bit more with some influence here. And like I said, I've made mistakes in the past. I hope and I pray that I do better going forward, that I can help influence young women in a positive way. I always get questions. Hey, Gina, how do I get my friend or my mom or my sister to lose some weight? Or, hey, Gina, how do I get my girlfriend or my friend to stop being so liberal? And the answer is always the same. You have to start by living a life that is so great and so vibrant and so full of joy and love that they can't help but look away, that they're so attracted to whatever your life is. They look at you and they're like, what does that person have that I don't have? I want that. I think we all need to adopt that more. And you don't do that by constantly lecturing and yelling at people. Oh, you're doing this and you're such a little slut. I think that we should all strive to just live more influentially and impact people's lives just by the way that we live. And I think that's what these girls are doing so well that the right fails to understand. That's all I got to say on that. I pray that more young women will come to our side, become conservative, become Christian, get married and have children. I want that. And I think that we need to be a little bit smarter and more effective about how we're making that happen, because right now, these statistics, they do not look very good. Look at that. That does not look good to me. Almost half of young women are liberal between 18 and 29. You know what that's going to do to our birth rate? It's not going to be good. So let me know in the comment section what you guys think. Thank you for sticking around. This is a longer episode than usual. So don't forget, go to Charlize Skincare. Use my code 20% off. It's Valentine's Day, ladies. Treat yourself, or men, treat yo ladies. Your girlfriend, your wife, your sister, your mom, I don't know. Give them a little gift. 20% off. Thanks, guys, for joining. We'll see you next time. Have a great day. Bye.